if you do have questions, please make sure that you put them in the chat area. So first of all, I'm going to begin by asking you, if you have not, to, if you're on a single computer, that's great. I want you to go ahead and hit the escape key on your computer keyboard. And what that's going to do is that's going to make the Zoom window smaller so that you will be able to go in and out of Zoom, because I am going to ask you to do some activities so that you can get your profile set up correctly, so that when we get to that point, you don't have to try to figure that out. So again, if you are just coming in and you have the Zoom screen and it is taking up your entire screen, go ahead and hit the escape key, and then you should be able to see a smaller version of the Zoom window, and then you should be able to see your computer desktop in the back. All right. With that being said, let us move on. So, my name is Paige Durham. I'm the instructional designer for Germanna Community College, and I'll be leading you through the Zoom journey today. Hopefully it's not a jungle, it's just going to be a journey. However, in our chat area, we have a ton of people who are going to be answering your questions. I'm not going to read you the list, but there they all are, and we even probably have more than that. If you do have questions, please make sure you use the chat area to type them out. And also, if you have other questions later, feel free to email us. So the agenda for our session today is going to be customizing your profile. Then we're going to customize your personal meeting room. I'm going to teach you how to schedule a new meeting. And then we're going to talk about the specific Zoom meeting settings. And then we're going to talk about the Zoom mobile apps. All right, let's begin by customizing your profile. So first of all, you need to understand that the Zoom license that we have is a system-wide license. So it is not tied to your specific college email. It is tied to the email that everyone in the VCCS has, which is at email.vccs.edu. You're probably maybe not as familiar with that email address. However, I'm sure that you are familiar with how you get into SIS or Canvas or anything like that by going through a college portal. So I'm going to walk you through how I would do it to get to my portal at Germanna. So this is a screen that you're probably familiar with. May not be red, may not say Germanna, but I'm sure you've seen it before. What we're going to do is you're going to sign in just like you would any other time. And from here, you're going to click on the Zoom tile. Now, you have lots of other tiles. You may have less or more than me, but the key is you're going to look for that tile, and you're not going to do anything or go to Zoom or anything else. You're just going to click on that tile. The first time you click on that tile, it may ask you a question to authenticate. However, this is the way you want to go into Zoom. And then the next thing you're going to click on is settings. Now, once you get to settings, this is where you have all of your options, and this is, we're going to be spending a lot of time on this specific page. So let's click on Profile. And now you can see that I've already put a picture of myself in here. However, you may not have a picture. You also might have an initial and some numbers or some names, but you can change this by clicking on Edit. And then notice that it does allow me to type in the first two boxes, but not in the second. I don't have a phone number there, nor will I put one. I'm not going to touch the department. I did put in my job title and company. And then I click Save Changes. Once you've done that, you should see the information appear. The next area is your personal meeting ID, and you do not need to mess with that as well. The next place is your personal link. I do not have mine set, so I will, hold on one second. Now, hopefully everybody can see. Maybe that'll make it a little bit better. So now that you can see what I'm doing, now you here way over on the far right, you're going to see edit. That's where I went to change the information that was there. Then personal meeting link, you can customize. I could put in my name. I could put in my name and some numbers, but it's still going to be an alias for your personal meeting room. That's up to you to change that. That is optional. The next part is sign in email. You are not going to use to touch that, because if you do, it will break the connection and you will not be using the account for the BCCS. The only other thing that you may wish to enable is to connect it to your calendar and your contact information. All right. So now let me go back and do a little review. So you're going to go to your college, you're going to log in, and then you're going to click on the Zoom tile. Once you've done that, you can also use the web address vccs.zoom.us, or you can use a mobile app. But the first time you're going to want to make sure that you use the Zoom tile in your college portal. So you have an activity. Again, you should, if you're using your computer and I'm taking up your whole screen, please go ahead and hit escape, and that will get you a smaller Zoom window. It won't kick you out of the session. And then you're going to go to your college page and log into your portal and click on your profile and make some setting changes. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do this, and I'll be right back. All right, that was 2 minutes, and I hope that you were able to get to your Zoom settings through your college portal. So now let's go on. Now this next thing we're going to go to is your personal meeting room. Your personal meeting room is going to be something that I use. I'll call them for instant meetings or unplanned meetings. If it's a planned meeting, then I generally will schedule it. So let's go to back to our Zoom account. And we're going to click on meetings, which is right over here. And here you see you have some options. So at the top, you have upcoming meetings, previous meetings, and your personal meeting room is the third option. Click on that. When you do, if you haven't been here before, these options will not be set up. So I'm going to scroll down here and edit this meeting. So if I ever wanted to change this, this is how I would do it. And for my meeting, I'm not going to touch the personal meeting ID. I am never going to require anyone to have a password to come to my personal meeting room. I am going to leave the host and participant videos both on, and I'm going to use the audio as both. The next options that you see are enable join before host. That means somebody could get into the meeting before you got there. You can also mute participants upon entry. So for example, when we have 289 people in a session, we made sure that that was an option that we chose when we made this meeting. Also, we enabled a waiting room. This is a good thing if you are having people join you and you want to have private conversations and you don't want someone entering before you allow them to be there. And the last two are authenticated users can join and record the meeting automatically. Because this is my personal meeting room, I am not making either of those two options. The alternative host option is that would allow someone in the group to be the host or co-host and have recording controls and allow people in from the waiting room and remove people. But again, this is my personal meeting room, so I'm not going to put anyone in alternative host. Then I would click save. Once I've done that, you can see that I do have some options to add that to calendar. And I also, this is the important part. So if I want to invite someone to my personal meeting room, here in the center where it says join URL, you're going to be able to see the URL that you need to send to anyone that you want to come to your meeting or whatever. The other way you can do that is you can click on copy the invitation. So if I click on copy the invitation, you're going to see a window pop open. Now there's a lot of information in this copy the invitation, and I'll be honest with you, I don't generally use it all, but what I do copy is this top portion. I will copy and paste that into an Outlook meeting, or I copy and paste it into Canvas, or any of those things. So just keep that in mind, that when you are using copy the meeting invitation, if you use this button down here, that copies the entire thing. However, I just highlight the part I want and copy, right click, copy, and then I can go paste it wherever I want to go. So that is your personal meeting room. So now I would like for you to go and make those choices in your personal meeting room. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do that, and then I will see you back. All right, let's keep going. So now you have your options for your personal meeting room. Again, that personal meeting room, as I said, I choose to use that for meetings that are unplanned. Now let's go and schedule a new meeting or any meeting, whether it's a new one or any other kind. So from here, so I clicked on meetings. And now I have two options to schedule a new meeting. I can click on the blue button here, or I can click on the schedule a meeting up here. Let's click on the blue button. So this is where you're going to schedule a meeting, and it can be a meeting that happens once, or it can be a meeting that happens several times. So for the purpose of this, I'm going to call this open office. And I'm not going to give it a description, but you could. I'm going to say that this is going to start on Friday at 3 p.m. I'm going to say it lasts an hour. I'll leave the time zone as it is. And I actually want this meeting to happen every Friday. So I'm going to click on recurring, and I'm going to click on weekly. And notice that Friday is already chosen because that was when I scheduled the meeting. And I can make a decision on I want it to end after so many occurrences or on a specific date. There are many options in this area that would allow you to make a meeting that would use the same link. So when you send it to students or you send it out, it would use the same URL every single time. You can choose weekly, you can choose daily, you can choose monthly, or you can choose no fixed time. So I choose, I'm just going to say no fixed time. And if you notice, what that does is it actually removes the time limit, it removes the date, and I can use this meeting link over and over and over and over and over again. The next option, of course, is to require a password, which I'm not going to choose. For this specific meeting, I'm going to turn the host camera, that's my camera, on, but I'm going to leave the participants to off. However, participants would have the ability to turn it on if they wanted to. The next option is audio, and again, I'm going to leave that as its default is to both. Then the meeting options, because I said this was open office, I'm actually going to use mute participants upon entry and enable waiting room. And I do have someone that I wanted to add to this, so as an alternative host. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in their vccs.edu email. So, and then I'm going to click save. So what that did is now I can see how my meeting's made. I can choose to add this to a specific calendar. This is my meeting ID. This is my alternative host. But if you notice, here is the URL that we also saw in personal meeting room, but notice that the N numbers are different. This is the ID that makes sure that your participants go into the correct room. I also have the to click on copy the invitation. And again, I could just choose to highlight that portion that I wanted to, right click on it and copy it, and then paste it wherever I needed it to go. The video options are here. The meeting options are here. And notice that at the bottom, I do have the ability to edit the meeting in case I wanted to change something, since I did make this a meeting that occurs multiple times. Or I could delete it, or I could save it as a meeting template and use the same options again for another meeting. You have not created any polls yet. If you wanted to add polling questions to a meeting, this is where you would add them before the meeting begins. All right, so for our next activity, I'm going to have you do exactly what I did. So I would like for you to go to your Zoom, and I want you to schedule a meeting. Now, we can always, you can delete this meeting as soon as we're done. So if you don't want to keep it, that's fine. But I do want you to go ahead and click on it and schedule it, give it a name, decide whether it is going to be a weekly or no fixed time, what kind of meeting it's going to be, and choose all of your options. 2 minutes for this activity. Ready, set, go. Okay, hopefully you were able to successfully create a meeting. The next thing, I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you where that meeting lives. So in case you ever needed to go back and find the link again or start the meeting, you could actually do it from here. So once I was finished, I actually just went back over here and clicked on meetings. And now I can see all of the meetings that I've scheduled, including that one I called Open Office. So from here, I have the option to start it or delete it. I can also click on the title or topic, and that's where I could change and go back in to make any edits that I wanted to the settings that I had chosen. So now we're going to go down a couple menu links to settings. These are global settings, and when you change these change for all of the meetings for your account, or this is what they will default to. You still have the option to tweak and choose options for each meeting that you set, but these are going to be what every meeting starts with. So for example, notice that I start every meeting with my host video on, but the participant video off. And over here, it says modified and reset. So obviously, if I click on reset, that's going to turn the host video to off, which is the default, which is probably what many of you are going to find. The next thing, again, I'm not really going to mess with a lot of these because they are the way that I want the meeting. When I click on start a new meeting, this is how I want it to begin. So for example, I'm not going to leave on join before host. Use personal meeting ID when you schedule a meeting. If you wanted to schedule every meeting with your personal meeting room, that's how you would do that. You can choose here to use your personal meeting room when you start an instant meeting. That is actually hooked into my Outlook. I don't have that turned on. And then here, this option is embed password in a meeting link. This will allow you to not have to worry about putting a password in when you get to, when you copy that link. So it's kind of putting it in there so you don't have to worry about sending two things or having your participants remember a URL and a password. The next thing are in-meeting settings. So for example, I have the chat turned on because that is the default, and private chat. Chat is recorded, private chat is not. So if you don't want the ability for participants to private chat, you can turn that option to off. Also, I have turned on play a sound when participants join or leave, but I actually only have that on my end, or co-host. So only I could hear it or a co-host could hear it, but the participants could not. That's what I use if I am maybe walking away from my computer for whatever reason, and I know that somebody's coming. It's kind of like a doorbell. I do leave it on so that I hear, and you can turn it off within the meeting settings as well. Co-host, I allowed that. Polling, you saw that in the meeting when I created it. The polling question option was at the bottom. Screen sharing, so you can decide who can share and who can start sharing when someone else is sharing. Annotation, so this is for, if you click on the V, it's again just giving you a little information on the fact that it only works with certain clients. And then a whiteboard, so if you wanted to draw or whatever, but you just have to remember, unless you have a touchscreen computer, drawing with a mouse is not always so easy, but you can also use text. Remote control, nonverbal feedback, that's in the bottom of the chat. If you look, I mean, sorry, not chat, in the participants, you're gonna see a yes, a no, a go slower, go faster, a more, etc. So you do have some nonverbal feedback. You can turn that on. And then the last option here is allow removed participants to rejoin. Inside the meeting, you also have the ability to turn on breakout rooms. So if you wanted to have a co-host and you wanted to have breakout rooms and you want to divide the groups that you're speaking to, this is where you would go to turn on that option. The rest of these, I'm going to kind of skip over. Obviously, I don't have them turned on. I do have the virtual background turned on, and if you have a green screen and you want to turn on the virtual background, you can pretend that you are in other places with some pretty pictures, or with kittens or puppies, or Star Wars or Game of Thrones or whatever you want. So again, I do not have any of these turned on. When I get to email notification, I do want to know when my cloud recording is available. And you have to remember that the email that this is linked to is not your college account, but your @email.vccs.edu account. You can also be notified when someone joins a meeting before you. You can be notified when a meeting is canceled, when an alternative host is set or removed, when someone schedules a meeting for a host. And the last is other, and I'm not going over those because they are not important. The next area is recording. So if you want to record, you have two options. You can record locally to your computer, or you can record to the cloud. You do have some options with cloud recording. For example, I can record active speaker with shared screen. I can also record the gallery view with shared screen. That's all the participants. I can record the active speaker, the gallery view, and the shared screen, and all of them would be separate files. Maybe I would do that if I were giving a test and I had all of my students sharing their screen while they were taking the test. I might have that as an option. You can record just an audio file, and you can also save the chat messages from the meeting or webinar. Again, that only saves the everybody chat, not the private chats. And then you do have some advanced cloud recording settings. You have the option to have every single meeting you ever make automatically recorded. And then that's really all I have turned on. And that's all I would suggest turning on. You can always come and make changes to the settings once you have them done. And the last one is telephone. Again, there's really nothing here that you're going to want to mess with, but there is the ability to change some of those settings. So let's keep on. Let's keep going. I'm going to go now to personal audio conference. If I click on personal audio conference, you're going to see that I have two accounts here. I can start the audio conference from my computer, which would allow someone else to use this toll-free number at the top with this conference ID to call in and be heard. And the same thing, I'm just showing you have two accounts, so you have two different numbers. Now I want to show you what it looks like when you're in a meeting as the host and those settings. Sorry. All right. Within the meeting, you're going to see some settings or have some settings available to you as the host. And I am going to try to make this bigger, so just give me 2 seconds and so you can see it. Oh, it's not going to let me. Okay. Well, we tried. All right. The very bottom of your Zoom window as a host, you have several icons, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over what you see. The first one is obviously the most important. Well, maybe not. It's an important icon. It is your microphone. If it does not have a red slash through it, that means you are not muted. If you click on the caret or the little arrow that's next to the microphone, you're going to be given a lot of options if you have multiple microphones and speakers attached to your computer. If you don't, then you will have very few options. However, and I'm not sure you can see this, but I'm going to try to show you. Right here, it says test speaker and microphone. So anytime you are in a meeting and you don't hear someone, or someone says they don't hear you, I should say, you can click there and you can check and see which microphone is being used and which speaker. So if you do have multiple ones, you might want to check there to see if anything is changed or the chosen option is unavailable. You also can get to the main audio settings from there. Next to the microphone is a video camera. Again, you can click on the video camera to start your video, and you can click with the red slash through it, means your video has been turned off. You also have a test, and then you can click on main video settings. If you click on main video settings, a new window will pop open that gives you lots more options. You can see here that you can choose whether it's widescreen, you can enable HD, you can always display participant names on their videos. You also have all of these other options inside of a meeting. And you can click through those and go through them on your own and see what they do. I did want to show you that that's where all the main meeting settings are if you need to change them while you are in a meeting. The next icon that you will see on your host is the invite. So This is a way for you to invite people who may have forgotten about your meeting, and you can type their name in the filter, and you can find their email and send them an email reminder and in that email reminder will be a URL for them to click on. There's also at the top Zoom rooms, system rooms, and email. At the bottom, you also have the ability to simply copy the URL or copy the entire invitation. So if you do that, it's going to be the same as if you were in the other screen where you clicked on copy the invitation and the big window popped open and all of, you could copy the whole thing and have the phone numbers. If you need the phone numbers though, the only way to get that is the whole invitation. All right, the next icon after invite is participants, manage participants. So from here, if you click on that, it's going to bring up a window on the side. And actually, you can probably, and then you can choose to pop that little section out and move it somewhere else if you want. But within that, right underneath, you have the ability to mute all, unmute all, or choose more. If you choose more, this is where you can change some of the settings that you set up during your initial scheduling. And if, for example, if I chose to mute participants upon entry as an option when I set it up, I could come here and uncheck that box for that specific meeting and it would make those changes. The other options are allow participants to unmute themselves, allow participants to rename themselves, play enter exit chime, and put participants in a waiting room upon entry. And the last one is to lock the meeting. After the participants, you're going to get to the share screen settings and the options of sharing screens or applications, and then also the advanced options are to decide who is going to share and how many can start sharing, and who, if the host is going to be the only one, or if other people can start sharing their screen. When you click on share screen, you're going to get a window that pops open. If you notice in the window in this bottom picture here, you can see that I have screen 1, screen 2, and screen 3. That means that those screens are everything that is on that screen. So all of the tabs would be available to be seen, as well as anything that may have been like behind it. So if I had, let's say, Outlook open and Firefox open on the same screen, I would be able to go back and forth between the two. But I can also just share a portion of the screen, and that's actually in advanced settings. But let's look back down here. So now I said that you could share screens, but you also can share a whiteboard. When you open that up and you're going to click on whiteboard, it does open up, and you can give control to other people to draw on that whiteboard in a session. The bottom row is actually all applications. So if I only wanted to share a specific application with my participants, that's the row I would choose. For example, if I wanted just to share the first little window here, which is Snip and Sketch, I could choose that application, or I could choose a different application, for example, Outlook. At the very top up here, which you can't see, it says Basic and Advanced. And if I click on Advanced, this is the option where I can share just a portion of my screen. And what happens is you click on portion of the screen and then you click Share, and then a smaller green box appears, and you can move that wherever you want to, and you can resize it by clicking on the sides, and then you can just share a portion of your screen. As well as I could just share only my computer sound if I were playing maybe a musical clip. And then the last option is content from a second camera, for example, a document camera. So if I wanted to share with you a portion of a screen. So now you're going to see just a part of a screen, and you're noticing that I can move the box, and I can make it smaller, make it bigger, so that I'm only showing a small portion of the screen. After you get to the screen sharing, you're going to get to the chat, which obviously I can see there are quite a few that typed in the chat. So you can choose when you're typing in the chat, whether you type to everyone, or you can choose specific people. And as the host, you can change those chat options. No one, people can chat only with the host, everyone publicly, or everyone publicly and privately. The next icon is going to be the record icon. So here's the option where you can either record to your local computer or to the cloud. And the last icon is the reactions. So you can give a clap or a thumbs up. So to be done after the webinar, I want you to go ahead and start a meeting and check out your microphone and your video, choose any other options, and practice your screen sharing. The last thing I'm going to talk to you about today is Zoom Mobile. Zoom on your mobile device is one of the things that students are finding very helpful because it does allow them to use their mobile device to join Zoom meetings. So on your smartphone, you have the ability to download from iTunes or Google Play. And you can, it is a blue icon with a white camera. And you can, when you open and you download it, you're going to see the first screen you're going to get to is going to look like this. And you're going to click on Sign In. Very important next step here. The next thing you're going to see is the sign in page, and you're going to ignore everything at the top and you're going to click right here where it says SSO. That is the only way you are going to be able to link your VCCS Zoom account with your mobile app. Once you click on SSO, there's one more thing you need to do. The next thing you need to do is in the domain, you're going to type in VCCS. That's it, nothing else. And then you're going to click Go. So again, mobile app, you're going to click on Sign In, SSO, oops, and I clicked and didn't mean to, and then VCCS. So that's the important part and for you to remember, as well as for students. All students, faculty, and staff have Zoom accounts, but they all have to use the same SSO login to get there. Once you are logged in, you're going to see a screen that looks very similar to the one that I'm showing you. It does have the buttons at the top for new meeting, join, schedule, share screen. At the bottom, you see it has meet and chat. Then it has a little clock icon that says meetings, contacts, and settings. If I click on meetings, I am then taken to a screen that looks like this one. So here you can see that I have my scheduled meetings that show up, as well as anything that's recurring, and my personal meeting room or my personal meeting ID at the top. Following that screen, or actually the next button to the right of meetings, is contacts. And contacts are where you can find email addresses, and if you have people stored in your phone, you can also have them listed in this area. If I click on settings on my mobile app, I'm going to get to a page that looks like this. And this allows me to change meeting settings, contacts, chat settings, general settings, and if you want to use Siri, that's there too. After that, your meeting settings, here are some choices that you have. So if you are on your mobile device, you can turn off your video. You can always mute your microphone when you enter a meeting or start a meeting. And you can also show people who do not have video turned on. You can change your profile on your mobile app. You can add a different picture. You can change your, you can click on display name. Again, this is exactly the same as the profile that we did on the desktop. And then the last one is chat settings. So you can change some of the settings in your chat so that you have all of the options to either keep the chat or turn off the chat completely. Okay, so we have one more activity, and I'm going to go back and share the whole screen. And this is the final activity. I would like for you to use your smartphone, if you have one, and download the Zoom app and log in with SSO using your username and password. Remember that the domain is VCCS. Allow your microphone and camera to be accessed because it will ask you that. And then actually don't join the meeting because you're already in one. But I would like for you to try this activity. Ready, set, go. If you would like to join this meeting with your mobile device, the meeting ID I just posted on the screen. I'll wait just a second. Okay, hopefully everybody was successful. So I'm gonna wrap it up. So we talked about customizing your profile. I showed you how and where to add a picture, as well as some other identification. I also showed you how to customize your personal meeting room. I showed you how to schedule a new meeting or any meeting with a bunch of options for recurring meetings. We talked about Zoom meeting settings, and then we talked about downloading, and we did download the Zoom mobile app, which you can also use on your iPad, and you would log in the exact same way. So I have enjoyed spending the last 55 minutes with you all. And so now I hope that you will zoom off into the world of coaching and advising by way of the Zoom app and the cloud. We appreciate you coming, and I would really like it if you had the time, if you could please go and give us a little feedback on our survey and let us know how we did. Again, I thank you for coming, and I hope that all of your questions were answered. If not, please feel free to reach out to us, and we will be glad to help you. You can also find a copy of this recording on the edtech.vccs.edu/webinars page. And I'm sure that somebody will put that in the chat for you to copy and paste and save. Again, thank you all for coming, and I hope you have a great afternoon. Terry, stop recording.